Hi, welcome to Crisco's Corner. Proud to live in the greatest country in the world. Unfiltered opinions, no PC discussion here. Agree, disagree, hate it, love it, it's all good. Sit back and enjoy some unfiltered commentary. We discuss politics, culture, interviews, and more. Your comments are always welcome. Please help the channel by hitting that subscribe button. Doesn't cost a thing. And as always, thanks for your support. Hi, folks. From Politico, never Trump movement splinters as his villain heads for the exit. I never could understand the Lincoln Project. It's old school neocons, and there's neo-dubs too, neo-dems as well, that just entrenched old school warmongering. They started the Lincoln Project, and it's just all it was just the never-Trumpers in the Republican Party aligning with the never-Trumpers of mainstream media to just pound on the guy. It's just amazing to me. And let's tell the truth here. What this is all about is freaking money. They received tons of money in donations for their Lincoln Project. That's about as much crap as the 1619 Project, which they are now teaching in schools, by the way. Anyway, I digress. Is there a market for any Trump Republican Party now? Said one prominent member of the anti-Trump Lincoln Project. I would say no. Well, there really wasn't before. You had to attach yourselves to the mainstream media to become viable at all. It's just amazing to me. These guys are so screwed. All the anti-Trump people, all the mainstream media. If you remember, before Trump ran for president, the mainstream media was declining rapidly. It was the, we'll use the comparison, it was the horse and buggy industry of the early 1900s. And as the automobile became more and more, their whole industry just collapsed because they were just worthless. They were replaced with something else, and the mainstream media is replaced with things like this, YouTube and a ton of other media sites, social media sites. People get their information now. My understanding is 40% of news, especially younger people, they get from Facebook, which is kind of criminal, but that's a different issue. The defeat of Donald Trump may have been easy part for the never-Trump Republicans. Next step, taking on the more elusive target of Trumpism with their boogeyman gone from office. Yeah, they have to go after Trumpism now. Remember they used to call them the Reaganites. More than a dozen leaders of the never-Trump movement said in interviews that they see their work as far from over once Joe Biden is sworn in January 20th. They want to keep the heat on Republicans who serve as Trump's foot soldiers and to provide cover for those who reject far-out conspiracy theories and attacks on democracy. What attacks on democracy are they talking about? That's insane. I think an attack on democracy is a social media site. When Hunter Biden's scandal broke, Twitter and Facebook banned it completely, blacked it out. That's an assault on democracy. When they continue to tell lies after lie after lie in the mainstream media that Vladimir Putin and Melania Trump were plotting because they were seen talking at a dinner without interpreters. That is assault on our democracy. Horse shit. What happened was, ever talk through an interpreter? Try it sometime. It's a real pain in the behind. They're eating dinner, and come to find out, Melania Trump speaks fluent German. She's not dumb like they always say. She's an incredibly intelligent woman. Speaks several languages. And guess what? Vladimir Putin also speaks fluent German. Why? Well, how could he? He's Russian. He used to run the KGB in East Germany before the collapse of the Soviet Union. So his German is perfect too. So when they found that out, they sent the interpreters away and two people talking while they're eating dinner. But that was assault on democracy. Everything's an assault on democracy. These guys deflect so bad, they're the assault on democracy. But I digress again. But how to do it is another story. After beating Trump and creating a permission structure for some GOP voters to back Biden, a permission structure, like they needed permission. The task now, they said, is to turn back Republicans' embrace of authoritarianism and transform their party in the process. But ask each of the Never Trump leaders what that means. You get a different answer from each of them. Yeah, because they're all falling apart because their common enemy's gone. Authoritarianism. What the hell did you get to authoritarian? He lowered taxes on people. He cut thousands and thousands of regulations. He tried to push for the fact that these draconian lockdowns were stopping people from exercising their right to worship in the religion that they see fit. That sound like authoritarianism to you? Giving more people more freedom? My God. They admit the task is daunting. They're vastly outnumbered in a party dominated by Trump even after his defeat. No, you're outnumbered because you're morons. And the average person doesn't believe any of your crap, but you just had just enough people and just enough donations to make it viable. The reality is there a market for anti-Trump Republican Party now? There wasn't a market before. And Stuart Stevens, a longtime Republican operative and member of the anti-Trump Lincoln Project, I would say no. Just keeping the coalition that elected Biden together will be a challenge of itself. Yeah, they didn't even admit it. That was their goal, elect Biden. Even Evan McMullen, who mounted a conservative third-party presidential bid in 2016, moving forward, the movement has to bring more Republicans to our side of this fight. You're an idiot. You're the same Republicans that kowtowed to every Democrat and progressive and leftist over the years that hid in the corner covering spineless milquetoast people like Mitt Romney. That's the Republican Party that you're trying to defend, that you're trying to draw people to? You're about as exciting and inviting as a bowl of oatmeal, plain, I might add. Some said they intend to shield Republican lawmakers who stand up to Trump. Others floated forming a third party. Republican lawmakers who stand up to Trump, shield them from what? The American people? Because they stopped voting for them. And still others want to direct their energies toward rebuilding trust in government and using Trump's ouster as momentum for reforms in government ethics, taking a page from the post-Watergate playbook. Government ethics? With all the crap that's going on with Joe Biden and his son? All the crap with Hillary Clinton? Are you kidding me? Government ethics? Government ethics. Can we recruit never-Trumpers to run? Can we find moderate candidates to run? Yeah, the moderate candidates, they got their asses kicked. With all due respect to John McCain, rest his soul, I admired the man as an individual, but him and Romney, all the other old-school Republicans, all the neocons, even Lindsey Graham, who sometimes is up and sometimes is down. I'm trying to warm up to the guy, but I can't. These are the guys you want to put back? Is the best thing to do be more helpful to Biden? I don't think there's any clear answers right now. More helpful to Biden? You're trying to, at least in theory, say you're trying to redo the Republican Party, and you should be more helpful to Biden. Now you're pro-Democrat? My God. These guys, remember Sybil with the 18 personalities? Is that these guys? Said Tim Miller, a former spokesman for Jeb Bush and a leading never-Trumper who left the Republican Party in November. Well, Jeb Bush, there you go. That speaks in volumes. Trumpism isn't going anywhere. I don't know why they call it Trumpism. It makes it sound like a negative thing. It's not about Donald Trump. These morons don't get that part. It's not about him. It's about the policies. It's about the integrity and the safeguarding of the U.S. Constitution. It's about upholding our immigration laws. It's about the law of the land. We are a nation of laws. And you can't wipe your ass with the Constitution or only use it when it's convenient for you, as Democrats have been doing for decades and decades and decades. The repudiation of the GOP candidates up and down the ballot that never-Trumpers longed for never materialized. Yeah. One, Trump's personality turned off a lot of people. And two is, to use the new F word on YouTube, F-R-A-U-D. And Trump is always teasing a 2024 comeback bid. If he runs again, that would keep the activists united, but many are skeptical he'll follow through. Polls show that 2/3 of Republican voters think Trump didn't legitimately lose. And more than 120 Republican House lawmakers signed their names to a lawsuit filed by the state of Texas in an attempt to subvert the will of the electorate. It wasn't the will of the electorate. Is the will of the electorate when you vote in somebody else's name? Is it the will of the electorate that 19,000 people, I believe it was, in Nevada voted that weren't residents? That's not the will of the electorate. The problem is, though, they couldn't take the chance that the will of the electorate would come through. Some Never Trump leaders said their biggest potential impact is within the Biden administration and the Democrat Party, not the GOP. Yeah, they've never been real Republicans. Rand Paul is probably the most real Republican that there is, / libertarian. Make rules and regulations and laws simple. Slash them to pieces. Cut down the size of the federal government. Cut it in half would be a good start. And that's just the beginning. Get rid of all these entrenched bureaucrats and agencies that just sit around working against each other, basically. It's a drain on the system. They're looking to leverage friendships they forged with Biden's circle to pull in the new president toward the center, but all but ensuring he'll be squeezed by the left and right. Biden's coalition included a record number of crossover endorsements by past Republican officials at all levels of government because the fact that Donald Trump was the insurgent. He was the maverick. He was the one that wasn't owned by anybody, that wasn't part of that old school thinking that, basically it's a uniparty in a lot of ways. He was the insurgent. He was the rebel. And sometimes rebels win, and sometimes they don't. It could be a reminder that it's a dangerous path to start moving too far left, said Mickey Edwards, a former Republican congressman and co-founder of the Conservative Heritage Foundation. I have friends already who are going to be in good positions in the administration. That's just a phone call away. We'll have a pipeline into the administration. The Heritage Foundation used to be a lot different than that. They used to stand for something at one time. Bill Kristol, a leading figure in the anti-Trump movement, he's a real piece of work, said that Never Trump Republicans are a small but potentially important part of the overall Biden governing coalition. If Biden tries to pass an immigration bill, for instance, they could help by touting provisions popular with Republicans and moderates. No, how about just enforcing the law? That you can't come across the border by the hundreds and thousands and millions and expect to be welcomed with open arms. That you could constantly break our laws and call yourselves immigrants and have you propped up by the progressives and the Democrats and the mainstream media. We have laws. We have trade agreements that should be enforced that aren't. This isn't about that. The executive branch of government, let me give you, these morons don't have any civic sense at all. Civics 101. The executive branch of the government enforces the law at the state level, at the county level, at the city and village level, and at the federal level. The mayor enforces the law. The president enforces the law. The county executive enforces the law. That is their job. It could be ads. It could be in private meetings. It could be talking to business leaders or to members of Congress. He said, Never Trumpers can help the Biden administration govern successfully. I don't like Joe Biden. I mean, I always thought he always reminded me of Uncle Joe sitting on the porch of the old Petticoat Junction show, just doing nothing. He's just there. He's a harmless idiot. But now he's going to be president. Yeah, I want him to succeed. I want the country to succeed. But I'm afraid that the leftists are going to pull them way too far left in the immigration laws. That is the thing that scares me the most, the immigration laws. Or I should say the lack of enforcement. Leave millions of people to come into this country. I'm sorry. We take half the world's refugees now. We do our share. Though several Never Trumpers don't consider themselves Democrats, they aren't too concerned about the success of the current GOP either. Yeah, no kidding. Edwards said all the anti-Trump Republicans he knows want the Republican candidates in the Georgia Senate runoffs to lose because a GOP-controlled Senate will stymie a Biden agenda. No, a GOP-controlled Senate will do what the founders wanted. Checks and balances, not one-party rule. That's why they rejected the parliamentary system. These guys have a lot more education than I do and a lot more education than the average American, and they could be this stupid and do nothing Biden presidency would optimize conditions for another Trump in 4 years. Actually, a do-nothing Biden presidency would be the best for the country. Don't screw with things. Leave them the way they are. Don't countermand executive orders that Trump put in, even though I'm not a fan of executive order because they don't have the power of a legislative agenda. Just leave it. Don't screw with the tax code. Enforce immigration policy. Make fair trade agreements and do tariffs if we have to, if those trade agreements are being broken. That's it. The Lincoln Project, which drew buzz throughout the year with its viral anti-Trump ads, plans to do what it did throughout 2020. Troll Trump evangelists. Oh yeah, since you can't change hearts and minds, we'll just go after him personally. That's the playbook of the progressives and the Democrats. Though the group failed to defeat most of the Republican Senate candidates campaign against, Lincoln Project leaders still said they see themselves as playing an accountability role in the Georgia runoffs and beyond. Oh, now you're going to beat fact checkers? At this point, we're as much never Republicans as we are anything else, said Reed Galen, co-founder of the group. Never Republicans, never Trumpers. But we're not Democrats. Jesus, these guys, the Lincoln Project is coordinating with a larger coalition of Democratic and civil rights groups, including Stacey Abrams' Fair Fight Senate Majority PAC, the NAACP, and Black PAC. The Lincoln Project, Republicans, are forming a coalition with Stacey Abrams. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? It's funny that they talk about Trump is a shadow government. He will admit defeat. Stacey Abrams still thinks she's governor of Georgia. We can be helpful to them either with polling, staff support, or financial support. What the hell are these guys really after? And a new TV and digital ad launching soon. The Lincoln Project hits Senator Kelly Loeffler for stock trading after attending a private Senate briefing about the spreading coronavirus. Yeah, that looked a little crappy, I got to admit. It's been investigated. She skated around the rules, but it wasn't anything what I'd call serious. The ads first share with Politico strikes a populist tone that contracts Loeffler's wealth. Her mansion in Georgia, villa in Sea Island with Americans struggling during the pandemic. Oh, really? While the tens of millions of dollars flowed into Biden's family's bank accounts from foreign entities, including China, they're worried about she has a mansion. That Barack Obama just was $18 million for a mansion right on the shore, which, by the way, if he believes in global warming, what the hell would he invest $18 million on a mansion right on the ocean front? Maybe he doesn't. In the longer term, the 18 Republican Attorney General and majority of House Republicans who backed the failed Texas lawsuit are not going to get a free pass. They don't get to run themselves through the car wash on January 1st and say, just kidding, we didn't mean it. Raising money without Trump in the White House to motivate donors is bound to be another challenge for the movement. Yeah, because people that hate him will give, and they're going to be gone. Lincoln Project leaders said they expect fundraising to dip after the Georgia runoffs, but they're confident their creativity and ads and messaging will draw attention that helps bring in money. Crystal said, our donors think we made a difference in 2020 and want the group to keep it up. But this is all about is money. So they can make themselves feel more important than they are and make a damn good living doing it, I might add, and doing harm to the country. But the path forward for the Never Trump movement writ large is far from clear. A recent email to attendees of the secretive anti-Trump gathering known as the Meeting of the Concerned, was obtained by Politico, illustrates the crossroads that some never-Trumpers face. With Trump leaving office, it's worth thinking through that what new functions the meetings can or should serve. An organizer of the meeting wrote to his allies. He then requested they fill out a questionnaire which asked everything from, do you believe that after Trump leaves office, the Republican Party can be a positive force in American political life? What do you mean can be? They already are. Would you prefer to direct your political efforts over the next 2 years of reforming the GOP or to support the Democrats or a third party? These are Lincoln Project. Lincoln. He fought a war against the Democrats. Common Service said the meetings are confidential. He would not discuss the specific findings of the poll, but he said those in the movement worry a little about what's going to keep us together. Some believe in renovating and restoring the Republican Party. Others say good riddance, all needs to be burned down. Yeah, so the progressives in this take over. God, these guys are amazing. Talk about self-loathing. As for forming a third party, Camera Service said there's a huge difference of opinion. Sarah Longwell, co-founder of the anti-Trump Republicans for Rule of Law, said her mission is twofold. Keep fighting attacks by Trump on the election system and protect Republicans who break with Trump or to work with Democrats. Her group dropped nearly $1 million in Georgia, Pennsylvania, and Michigan defending GOP officials or certified election results in recent weeks. Just $1 million like it was nothing. This is what this is about, money and making a damn good living. Longwell's group recently tried to launch its first ever ad buy on Newsmax, a far-right outlet that's become a favorite of Trump's to challenge the misinformation served up to Trump voters at the source. Newsmax spiked the ad. And if Trump runs again, she'll keep her other organization, Republican Voters Against Trump, going. My God, well, self-loathing. Longwell also said, we want to be there to help provide air support for Republicans who are trying to find a way to work together on sensible things with Biden, such as infrastructure legislation reforms that rein in executive power. You think Joe Biden's going to rein in executive power? A new party. The Republican Party's attempts to overturn the election results, including a coming last-ditch effort on the House floor and threats of violence by GOP officials. There's never any violence threatened. Stunned never-Trumpers. It spurred Macmillan to ask in a New York Times op-ed whether it is time to form a new conservative party. They may include running our own candidates in Republican primaries, he said in an interview with Politico. I wouldn't advocate for starting a new party without support of some sitting officials in Congress or elsewhere, said McMillan, executive director of the Voter Mobilization Stand Up Republic. We're inching closer to a point where that might be possible. Some leading never-Trumper groups have started discussing with Trump loyalists to target in primaries. Among the possibilities, Republican Representatives Louis Gohmert of Texas, Amy Briggs, and you can see the list there. I'm not going to read through the entire article, but I don't see a place for me to get elected to anything in the next 4 years because Trumpism is going to dominate, said former Representative Joe Walsh. I'm going to probably be in the political wilderness for the rest of my life. And they just go on. Biden's plans, the Biden transition. You know, it's just amazing to me. You can stop the video here if you want to read it. And it's just amazing. It really is. What service? What are like these people trying to do? The old neocons, they don't work. It doesn't work. These guys aren't Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan was an outstanding president and a great example of republicanism and constitutionalism and American exceptionalism. Yeah, Donald Trump could package it a little better. He could smooth it over a little. He could polish it up. He could tone down his rhetoric. But the policies and what he's trying to do were right spot on to conservative and Republican values. Always have been, always will be. So now they have a split in their organization that says, should we help Biden or help Republicans or start a third party? I don't know. This is about money. These morons collect millions and millions and millions of dollars and make huge salaries. Just sit around criticizing people. They're not constructive. They don't do anything constructive. And they're not helping the country at all. It's really sad. Anyway, folks, that's my take. We'll see what happens. We'll see what Trump does. I hope he doesn't lash out. I hope he takes some time, clears his head a little bit. He's been in bad spots before in his career. He's another bad spot for him again. But the fact of the matter is, he's held back the progressives for 4 years, maybe even longer, being president. And to me, that's an amazing positive thing. He pulled back the curtain and showed what these progressives and leftists are really about and what they really stand for. And just as important, he pulled back the curtain on the old neocon and neo-dem warmongers. He's the only president in my lifetime that hasn't started some kind of ground conflict or war. He pulled back on drone strikes. And I'll leave you with this. There's a lot of criticism for Trump personality-wise and anything you want to pick. But I remember he was in a press conference. They said the Iranians did something in the U.S. and we were going to retaliate in kind. And he asked the generals, the drone strike, how many people will it kill? And they told him over 200. And he said no. He said no. That's too much. That's not a proper response, and canceled it. And I was never prouder to vote for someone for president in that moment. Take Donald Trump's personality out of it. Think about what he did or tried to do and move on from here. But it's going to be fun either way. The next 2 years are going to be amazingly fun in politics, and we're going to see what happens. Because we're at this point, we're making history. When I say we, I mean the American people. We're in a bad spot right now with Corona, but we'll get out of it as we always do. We've had our ups and downs. We've been in a lot worse spots than this, and we'll get through it. And what we do after this is done and we can get our lives back, our rights back that have been taken away from us, what they do with it is up to the American people. And it'll be fun to watch the mainstream media slowly flush down the toilet. And these Lincoln Project type people are also flushed down the toilet. And now the old neocons and the old neo-dems. Get rid of them all, start clean. And that's what Trump wanted to do. And we'll see if Trumpism continues on. Anyway, folks, until next time, goodbye and good luck.